Often imitated, never duplicated. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. What's up, everybody around the world? I hope you're at least half as excited as I am for today's show. What's going on? Hey, Mandy. What's going on down in Tallahassee, Lassie? What's going on? Is that right? Gitane is amazing. Reminds me of Jabbo. And hey, there you go. Well, you come to the right place today, pal. Excited about today's show. Yeah. Hot as hell, I bet, right? Florida in the summer. Yeah, man. That's like Vermont in the winter. I lived in Vermont in the winter. It was rough. Vermont in the winter was rough. It's like winter in Vermont for like 10 months out of the year. Really, really. What's happening, Paulie? Checking in from Long Island via Florida. Another one down in Florida. Yeah. Well, thanks for the super chat, GP. Is there any particular reason why you're sending me $2? Is there something you need to say? You want to say? Do you have a statement for the world? Do you have a question for our guest? Hey, by the way, this super chat function, if you have a question, a burning desire for our guest, wait until it's question time. But hey, super chat, we really appreciate it. And any way you could contribute to the show. Speaking of contributing to the show, what's up with this guy?
What's up? What's up?
Are you going to contribute today?
I try to contribute spiritually, emotionally, and you're already showing your banana. Look at that. The fruit of the day?
It's the New York hardcore banana.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're a bananakist. So how was
Is that right?
Florida?
Oh, flat round and spun VZ. It's gorgeous here in the Pacific Northwest. Need to goth it up today. Well, that seems to be a common theme. The Pacific Northwest today. We're going to talk more about that later. Yeah. Florida in the summer is hell. Doesn't matter how good your AC is, it won't work, and great for the skin cancer.
Well, you were just down there, right?
Actually, we never made it down there, bro. It was you know what? Before I get into this whole rigmarole, let's bring on our co-host. Hey, Joel.
Hey,
Joe.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
Who's that with you?
This is my beloved Chris.
Hi, how's it going? I'm Chris Oman.
Hello, my beloved Chris.
You can keep going with that. That's fine.
So no, I never made it to Florida. We went to the friggin' airport, and seriously, it was like the last helicopter out of Saigon. It was, you know that scene that you see like at the what was that, the embassy in Saigon at the end of the Vietnam War, where everybody's trying to get on that last helicopter. That's what I stepped into at 6:30 in the morning the other day, and you know it was upsetting. I knew the second that we walked into the airport, like this isn't gonna. We're not getting down to Florida. It was absolute chaos. But that said, after all the bullshit that they put us through. We were there for a couple of hours, right? First, they moved our flight a week later, so we're going down on Thursday, right? Then they gave us $90 in food vouchers, right? Okay, here, go get something to eat, $90 in food vouchers. Then they said, well, hang around because we're going to offer you compensation. And I said, well, all right, I'm all about compensation, right? So we hung around for like an hour and a half. We were right there, ready to sort of like take hostages, right? And they said, all right, here's the deal for the both of you, for me and Rochelle. They said, do you want a $500 check each, or do you want $2,000 in travel vouchers each? And I was like, well, shit.
That's a no-brainer, right?
I said, we'll take the $4,000 in fucking travel vouchers. What's up? So now I'm looking at $4,000 in travel vouchers, and we're thinking like maybe we'll go to Paris for the last Biohazard show. Maybe we'll go to fucking Greece. Maybe we'll go to fucking,
Can't go wrong with that.
So that's what happened. So now, and then today, yeah, right? $4,000 all the way. That's what I'm saying. And then today I just got an email from United Airlines saying, hey, we fucked up. We want to send you 30,000 in miles. And I'm like, 30,000 in miles? I'm like, is that a good number? So I looked at how many miles I have, and I travel United for years all the time and have never used them. And I have like 26,000. And that's from years and years of traveling. And they're going to give me another 30?
Nice.
That's great.
Is that right? Wait a second. Rick Agnew's chiming in on my show.
Hey, Rick.
Well, gee.
Hey,
All
Rick.
right.
Love you, man.
That's antagonizing me to get the show on the road. So, photo of the day today. We're gonna give some shine to. Let's put one of his photos up first, and then we'll bring him on. We're gonna give some shine today to a young photographer. Here's one of his shots. Right. Let's bring on aspiring photographer and friend and supporter Ryan Veneza.
What's up?
Excuse me.
Thank you. Hello. How's it going?
How's it going,
buddy? Tell us about. First off, let's go with this. Tell us what's going on here. Tell us a little bit about your shooting technique and what's happening.
Well, in this moment, Doyle was doing his thing. He moves around a ton when he's performing, so it's a lot to capture. He ends up giving a lot of good photos to capture, thankfully. Mm-hmm. Some people tend to stand still, but definitely not Doyle. He does a lot of thrashing around, and yeah.
Was he blowing bubbles?
No.
Because he chews gum. He chews gum and blows bubbles.
Oh yeah, like blowing bubbles is gum. Yeah, he was doing that. Yeah. I thought you meant like blowing bubbles. I was trying to picture Doyle like just with a bubble machine blowing bubbles.
No. I pay extra money to see him do that. Yeah. Actually.
Yeah. Here's another one from your archive. Who's this?
That would be the head of LLA.
Yeah, it's Mina Caputo.
Yeah, Mina Caputo.
And also that's Veronica playing drums behind her, who is an incredible drummer.
Yeah, they're definitely great. Yeah, she's a great drummer. She did a lot of great little tricks with her drumsticks during that show.
Yeah, she's great. Where was this shot taken?
That was at Wally's in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire.
Wally's. What's the scoop on Wally's, Joel?
It's a little bar venue.
Okay.
It's a decent spot. I don't know. If I were to guess, they probably hold maybe 700, 800 there.
Right.
maybe a little more, but we saw like Reverend Horton Heat there before, Agent Orange, LOA. It's a decent spot, right?
I'm going there later this month to see Chris Webby and a few other people I was talking about earlier.
How did you get into photography? Why? What inspires you as an artist?
So funny enough, I originally picked up photography as just like a hobby during the pandemic, as a lot of people ended up picking up a lot of new hobbies. I had never really taken like a class or anything like that. Never took any form of schooling for photography lessons. I mean, I just picked it up and self-taught myself. Said one day I wanted to get into photography.
Cool. Yeah. Is that right, Gina? Gina says she saw Madball at Wally's.
Yeah, it's a great venue.
It's in Hampton Beach?
Yeah, it's right on Hampton. It's like in the back of Hampton Beach, like not on the main strip.
Isn't Hampton Beach where that casino is, where they hold big shows?
The Ballroom, yeah, Ballroom Casino.
I've never been there, but I see a lot of shows, big shows go through.
Yeah,
there.
I've never been there myself either, but it is a really big venue, I hear.
Here's another one.
I love that shot.
Yeah, it's a great shot, man.
Thank you.
That's my old friend, the gluten-free monster. You know.
And
yeah, he was definitely, his hair. You can tell how sweaty he was in that.
And shout out to Doyle's crew for hooking that up for Ryan and myself as well, because I met up with Uncle Doy that night.
Do you know? I got a question for you. Anybody out there? And if you know the answer, do not, Joel. Hold on. Now this is back in the day. I don't know what he's doing these days, but back in the day, anybody know what Doyle and Jerry and those would use for their devil lock? Anybody? Let's see it. What did they use for their devil locks? It's a good one.
That is a good one.
It is. I happen to know, and I happen to have some of it right here.
Oh, geez.
Let's see what the answers are. If anybody, okay, calm down there with the profanity in the chat room. Yeah. Okay. Nobody. Vaseline. Good guess. Very good guess, James Page. Very good guess. Very close.
Jimmy Page chiming in.
They would use strips of electrical tape to every now and then. White glue. Good guess. Murphy's oil soap. Good guess. Vapor rub. Well, that would be tough if you got that in your eyes. You know. Actually, I'll spill the beans here.
Spill the beans.
Okay, what they used to use, eggs, and it's going on, argan oil, eggs. That's an old punk rock. That's some old punk rock shit right there. Making Liberty Spikes, corn syrup. No friends and family back then. What they would use would be this product right here, which some of you may be familiar with, Astroglide. There you go. And don't ask what I'm doing with Astroglide in my apartment.
It's a show prop.
It's right next to the computer. Hey, speaking of photographers, we got to wish a happy birthday to Rich Zoller today.
That's right. There he is.
Rich
Zoller.
Happy birthday, there he is. Happy birthday, brother.
We love you, bro.
Happy birthday.
One of the greats right there.
One of the what is it?
The Worldwide Hardcore Firing Squad.
Right. I was going to say the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Same difference.
Where's the best place for people to reach out to you and check out?
Yeah, Ryan. How can people get
I've been posting a lot of my stuff on Instagram, but I use Facebook as well. Both are just Ryan Vizina Photography. On Instagram, it has the underscores in between, though.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, Ryan, we wish you... Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, best of luck shooting more bands. You got to come to New York and shoot some of ours.
Yeah. Definitely. I'll try and I'll get in touch through Joel with you, and we can definitely plan some stuff out, and I'll head up to New York. Thank you for having me on the show.
My pleasure, Ryan, and good luck with everything, and especially your photography. Okay.
Thank you. Good luck to you as well. Have a good one. Take it easy, everybody.
Take it easy, man.
All right.
Cool.
Here we are at the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, spotlighting young and upcoming talent via Joel Ghostin.
That's it. New blood. New blood.
All right, Steven, you got anything to say? Anybody you want to condemn? Anything
condemn? I just wanted to pass along the birthday wishes, and I'm gonna go stuff my face with my family now because it's my niece's baby's birthday.
Yay.
So, which means I should have sent you the antipasta picture, and I didn't.
Bro, how could I not?
I didn't. You know what time it is whenever we do the parties here. So.
All right,
but
you have a
good.
You
guys.
All
Great
right.
seeing you.
We'll see you soon.
I'll be in the background.
Right on.
Enjoy.
And just like that, Kaiser Sose, Kaiser Sose, and just like that,
God.
fucking love that film, man.
Oh yeah,
it's a great film, man. I watched that fairly recently. It was good.
Do you like Wes Anderson?
Yeah.
We just saw his new one last night.
What's the new one called?
Asteroid City. Star-studded. The cast was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there were all little cameos and stuff, but what a great it's an interesting storyline.
Well, me and the Phonic Rochelle are very excited. They just released the 3rd season of The Witcher. So we're very excited. We love that. We're big Witcher fans. So, we're up on that. That said, let's clear the deck. Let me do a quick hang in there a second before we bring our guest on. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, 126 Hardcore Clothing, and Upstate Records. They're a New York-based DIY independent metal and hardcore label. Founded in 2017, they broke into the scene with their inaugural 26-band compilation, and since then have churned out over 80 releases in their brief 5-year history. Out now are new releases by Mark Rizzo's Revenge Beast, Carl from Earth Crisis's Freya, Fury of 5, Angry Corpses, with a few more surprises in the works. Check them out and a whole lot more at www.upstaterecordsnewyork.com and use the code STONE10, you cheap fuck, for 10% off. That said, how about the Texas Silver Rush? Actually, you know what? I'm wearing some Texas Silver Rush right here. The Texas Silver Rush is a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. They specialize in working with musicians in all music genres to design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as to style them for stage, album covers, promo photos, and, believe it or not, social media exposure. Their client list includes Rock and Roll Hall of Famers Greg Rollet, Ringo Starr, and, of course, Agnostic Front. Information and online sales are being taken at their Facebook and Instagram page, and, of course, www.thetexassilverrush.com. That said, let's bring our co-hosts on. Let's clear the deck. What the heck? And let's make sure nobody's killing each other in the chat room. Hey, Jorge Rodriguez, ¿cómo está, Jorge? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Vincent, what's up? Warrior Nun on Netflix. I need to check that out.
Never heard of it.
All right.
I'll have to check it out.
Yep. All right. That said, Alan Dubin, my cousin, kill.
Old Lady Drivers, great band.
Old Lady Drivers, Gnaw, and Con 8. Yep.
Right on.
Hey, you guys, if anybody out there knows my cousin, tell him to come on my show, will you? That said, let's bring our guest on. Very excited. Today's guest is an American singer, musician, poet, and visual artist hailing from Los Angeles, California. She's one of the pioneers of the death rock, goth, punk culture in the USA. As a musician, in addition to her solo work, she's known for her work with the bands Pompeii 99, the Crystals, the Jitan Damon Quartet, and of course, the hugely influential Christian Death. Please welcome, coming at us from lovely Northern California, Jitan Damon. Hi.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
How's things up in Northern California?
It's pretty beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice. up
I
there.
always love it up here.
Yeah, it's
My
beautiful.
son lives up here, and I love to come up and visit and hang out.
Yeah. At one point, I was thinking many years ago of moving to that part of the country. It's beautiful.
It is really. I love redwood trees. They're
Yeah.
amazing. They were here with the dinosaurs. It's
Yeah.
incredible they survived this long.
Yeah.
So the air is great.
Yep.
The weather's great. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Let's just jump right into it, huh?
Sure.
So, how did you come up? Did you grow up in a musical household? How did music come into your life?
Well, I did have brothers and sisters. My sister was a Beatlemaniac. She had all the stuff, all the, the fanzines. She had the Beatle boots, the Beatle haircut. She went to go see them. I grew up in the 60s. I was born in 58, so I grew up in the 60s, exposed to great music on the radio.
Sure.
Great. So I just had a lively ear. My mom was in musicals. I used to hang out backstage with her. I learned all the songs. Everybody else, my brothers and sisters, they did band at school. And I was into singing, but never really took it seriously. I never knew I'd be a singer. I was also drawing and making little books as a kid, so I wouldn't say that I ever knew that I'd get into singing and being in a band or a musician. I thought you had to just, really be some ultra gifted person to do that. So
Did you take? Was there any sort of early musical training or anything like that, or like some of us in school, like I had to learn the clarinet. Was there anything?
That was everybody else in my family.
Yeah.
I was pretty much a rebel spirit, and I wasn't going to be like everybody else. But my parents at one point insisted that I needed to learn something. So I did take some lessons when I was very young for, like maybe a month or something like that.
Yeah.
And I did enter a school contest at 6, and I actually won this school contest as like I don't know what are you? I was like in first grade, and
Were you singing?
I was singing, and my mom played piano.
Aw.
But again, I never thought anything of it.
Sure.
You hear people on the radio, and you think, wow, this person really has it, and
Sure.
you're not singing like them, so how are you ever going to get it?
Yeah.
And so I didn't really, the concept of practicing didn't cross my mind much.
Was there? I mean, it must be later on, but I'll ask it. Actually, I don't want to jump too far ahead. When you in those early days, did you see anybody musically live that really inspired you, or you just thought was just fantastic?
No, not till I was a teenager.
Right.
But I listened to the radio,
Yeah.
and just even AM radio was so great
Sure.
then. Like hearing all the Motown
Yeah.
and Doors and Hendrix and Joplin, Big Brother and the Holding Company. It was just an endless supply of great music.
Yeah, those are some of my favorites right there. Janis Joplin's a big personal favorite of mine, and
Yeah.
certain things to me years later have sort of aged well, and Janis Joplin's one of them. I still to this day
Yeah.
I just love Janis Joplin, and I tell you I love the Doors too. I still really and we've talked about it many times on the show. Is that era was such a vibrant time for radio.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, I had insomnia even when I was 6 years old, and I'd get up and I'd be awake at 2 a.m, and I'd go make a request for a Hendrix song or something,
There
just
you go.
ridiculous. But yeah, I listened to it all the time. So music was a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At what point was there like a oh wow moment where you were inspired and said, hey, was it the early punk thing, or what inspired you to sort of say, hey, I could do this?
Oh, I never, even in the beginning of punk, it didn't cross my mind. I think my personality is more of a kind of reclusive, remote personality, so maybe that's why, although I've had these show-off elements too. But I lived with a lady when I was 19 who was a singer, a songwriter, and guitar player. She wanted me to sing backing with her. And I said, well, I don't know how to sing. And she said, well, just practice. And so I started practicing, and I loved it. I mean, I really found myself. It was the most meaningful thing. I thought I'd be a writer and an illustrator all of my life, up until that point. I guess I was maybe 18, actually. But yeah, I just kept practicing, and it was a high for me. So I didn't know if I'd be able to do it, but she said I had a good voice, so I kept doing it. And then I moved away from where she was living. I moved to Los Angeles to find a band.
Is that it? You went to LA, and
Yeah.
I know you placed an ad in the Recycler at a certain point. Was that soon after this move to LA?
I think that I did, and at that point I'd had a punk boyfriend, so we're going to punk shows, and then he got really influenced by he got really into heavy metal and hard rock. He was a really great guitar player. And then he said, chicks can never sing this kind of music. And so I got really into heavy metal. And this is what you'd say like hard rock, or they call it classic rock now, but back then it was like heavy metal. So I did that.
We're talking about LA in the late 70s?
Late 70s, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and there's a great punk scene going on, and I went to some of that too, but I so stubborn, I just wanted to prove my boyfriend wrong. So I got into a band, and they were a heavy metal band, and I blew my voice out.
Oh.
I blew my voice out. The boyfriend was gone. I couldn't even talk.
Oof.
I couldn't even talk. It was bad. I have a really powerful voice, but very thin vocal cords, and I was scream singing like Robert Plant or Bon Scott, something like that. And I did it really well. But when you're up against, two guitars and a huge, no monitors and things like that. So I had to figure a different way out to sing. And I had the nodes, I had everything. But I wasn't going to stop. So I tried to figure out how I could exert this emotion in a different way. And I got into the jazz singers, because there's a lot of emotion, but you can't really scream, you have to kind of learn a lot of control. So I healed my voice singing to Billie Holiday, and
I was gonna say Billie Holiday an influence.
Yeah, I mean, just because the emotional quality, the tones, and I got into. I practiced a lot with her, and I could hold my voice together. And around that time, I was putting out I was putting out an ad myself in Recycler for a band that was not heavy metal. I also wanted to have more diverse elements, something a little more experimental, and not just this power genre of one way. And I'm kind of more experimental person. So I met Valor, who wanted to start a band through the Recycler, And the Recycler at that time was how you actually,
Yeah.
met musicians.
It was the internet. It was the internet of the time.
It was.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was so funny. Last week, my friend John showed me an ad that Roz had in Roz Williams
Wow.
had in the Recycler looking for band members.
Wow. That's how it was the equivalent here in New York. We had the Village Voice. It
Right.
was like, it
Yes.
was that's like what we had here. Like that's what I grew up like. Open up, you get it on a Wednesday night, and try to be the first one to get it, so you could be the first, beat them to the punch,
Exactly. Yeah. I remember seeing Suburban Lawns had ads. I mean, it was great.
Yeah.
It was
Hey,
great.
hey, Joel, you have anything for Jitan at this stage?
Sure. Well, first of all, Jitan, hello. Lovely to see you again.
You
This is
too.
my better half, Chris. Chris.
Hi, Chris.
So nice
Beautiful
to meet you.
Chris.
Thank you.
First, let me preface everything by saying I don't believe in coincidences, but today is, to the day, the 20th anniversary of the day we met in Los Angeles.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Happy anniversary.
same to
Happy
you.
anniversary to you and to me.
So it's first of all, it's wonderful that all these years later we're still in touch and we're still friends, and it's lovely to have you on the show.
It really is. I remember many a time with you.
Yes, crashing on your couch more than once, if I recall.
I'm so glad that you're doing so well now.
Thank you, and likewise.
Thank you. Happiness is everything.
The older I become, the more I realize that, and it's a cliche sentiment, but it really grows in your heart. The longer you're on this planet and experience things, that really is the goal. So
Yeah, especially you're young, you're rebellious, you go through so much crap and trauma, and dealing with things, and you get a little older, and you're like, well, what, I got to throw all this baggage away, and enjoy life. Realize that if you can still, for me, if I can create, it doesn't matter where I am. If I still have something going on in here, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You mentioned the Recycler and Valor, which leads us to what I believe is the first proper recording band you were with, which was Pompeii '99.
Yeah.
And I just happened to have, you'd given me this about 18 years ago. This is the Pompeii '99 album.
Good.
If I can get it.
That's
Signed by
right.
you back then, and Valor signed it for me last year when he came through.
Oh, okay.
So this is the record, Look at Yourself,
Yes.
Pompeii '99. So this was a very interesting band. It always, if I would be so bold to describe it, I'd say it's kind of like Fleetwood Mac meets the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Really?
But I don't know.
I'm not sure how I can put that together, but I'm working on it.
Which Fleetwood Mac are you referring to?
Yes.
Is it the?
Definitely the Rhiannon period for sure.
Oh
Yeah, okay.
no! Oh.
Sorry.
I failed. Oh no!
Oh no!
Good. But with Pompeii '99, that was a band that was around for a couple of years, right before the next chapter.
It was, yeah. And we played around, and we got played on the radio for a couple of the songs. But I really don't understand where the Fleetwood Mac comes in. I've heard that reference before, and I mean, that's when I stopped listening to Fleetwood Mac, basically.
Well,
I don't want to, I don't know how diplomatic I have to be on this show, but I'm sorry it didn't, it's like I liked early Fleetwood Mac, and I never knew that Black Magic Woman was an early Fleetwood Mac song.
Peter Green.
That's right. He did some great stuff, but
Sure did, man.
yeah, after, and I liked Christine McVie,
Yeah.
but it ended there.
I suppose because for better or for worse.
Tell me how.
Well, as a music journalist, we're kind of cursed in that when I know in my case, I encounter something that I can't put my finger on exactly. Like,
So
okay,
you say Fleetwood Mac?
Well, no,
Just
no.
kidding.
like what
Which version?
one?
Which one?
what's the
Is
closest thing
it
that comes to mind?
is it the Peter Green Fleetwood Mac, or is it the Bob Welsh Fleetwood Mac, or is it?
Well, we'll scratch my comments from the record.
No,
Okay.
no. I want
No.
to know, do I sound like Rhiannon?
No, I think,
What?
for example, Metamorphosis, the opening track on this record.
Yes.
I think the instrumentation and maybe in a vague way some of the vocalization with Valor, who's a lot, dare I say, a little bit mellower on this record than in the future.
Uh-huh.
If I had to pinpoint something, it has
Do it.
sort of like Americana 70s American sound mixed with this darker, like I said, Rocky Horror, kind of proto-goth sound. It wasn't like, oh, this is Rumors Part 2. It wasn't where I was going with it.
Yeah, no. So you mean like as a kind of family band type of thing, or like, I don't know.
I suppose so. It's such a unique sound where obviously I'm struggling now, so I think that's maybe the magic of the album, in that it's hard to kind of put into words like, oh, you listen to some records that go, oh, this is a punk record, this is a goth record. Pompeii 99, that's a Pompeii 99 record. It's almost
indefinable.
Yeah, right.
Some love it and some hate it.
Can I ask? Do you have, Jitan? Do you have any memories? Any memories of recording it? Was it anything that sort of sticks with you all these years later?
Well, for me, I was still recovering vocally, so my voice would easily go out. I remembered that. I remember that. I believe it's for Metamorphosis. David had actually. I think when we went back to do vocals, and the drummer had there's like a dun 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 that's on, like, it's not normal drums. I can't remember. I think he was hitting. I don't think he was hitting pans, but maybe glasses. Mm-hmm. But he had to use our hairbrushes actually, because he didn't have sticks that sounded right for it. So I remember trying to figure that out. And we did it very rapidly, very cheaply. And I think I'm a little bit off pitch in the ending, and that's embarrassing. But it was very exciting. I had never done it before. It was very, very exciting, and we were thrilled. We were thrilled.
What was it? Was it recorded up in Hollywood?
It was.
That was that was a blind guess, but I figured at that time that's where you would go to record.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And then we had some interesting segue parts. That Dr. Gitane. We had this guy who called himself Dr. Gitorensen, and he was an experimental musician, and he made really interesting segues. And we would go to his place to help with the recording of that, and so it was an interesting process. We did play around Club 88. I can't even remember other ones. Oh yeah, Valor knew he knew Gary Tovar from Golden Voice, and we were able to play open for New Order and PIL, along with a slew, open for the opening bands.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a kind of a theatrical band as well. And we actually got the interest of, and don't ask me how, but of A&M Records. And so their A&R person started coming to our coming to our rehearsals, and what they would call in that time grooming. I don't know what that is, but he was listening to what we were working on, and then we got invited to the offices. It was your stereotypical big office cigar smoking guy with the suit on and everything.
Wow.
It's just so weird to find yourself in that situation.
And this was A&M?
This was A&M Records, which of course no longer exists.
Herb Albert's A&M Records, right?
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, they put out some great records, but we weren't one of them. And shortly after that, Pompeii 99 went on hiatus. Original members left. I was living by myself in a little back house in Hollywood. Found out I was pregnant, decided to keep the baby. Pompeii 99 seemed to be no more. I was writing stuff on a little Casio. But I will say this is after we had a release party for the album. And who shows up around midnight but Roz Williams with a cohort looking like incredible, glamorous, eye shaded, shades on, fur coats. I don't even know. It wasn't even that cold outside.
Fur coat in Hollywood.
And stiletto heeled, coming into this storage room where we had taken everything out and fixed it up in a very surreal fashion. And we had a release party, and, he was one of the maybe 10 people that showed up. But what happened was he and Valor went upstairs. I was living actually in a loft by the storeroom. He and Valor went upstairs and hung out all night talking. So after that, then Pompeii 99 was on hiatus. I was by myself, wondering, well, whatever happens, I'm going on, whatever happens. I'm pregnant. I'm solo. I'm going on. Yeah. But I did. And then a few months later, I got maybe it was it was a couple months because I was getting a little bigger. Valor said, well, we're going to work with Roz. Roz wants David and I to work with him. He needs a band, and we're going to work with him. And he might want a keyboard player and a backing vocalist. You have to go meet him.
What was this? Was this for this European tour that was getting scheduled?
This was in the very beginning.
Yeah.
This was in the very beginning, before anything was happening. Right. So Pompeii 99 just sort of dissolved, and then I met Roz at his 19th birthday party.
Wow, young.
And, yeah.
Incredibly young.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
You sort of
at Pompeii 99. Sorry, go ahead.
You sort of like in the swirling sands of time. In retrospect, you just don't realize how young people were back then when they were doing it. Like so-and-so was 16, so-and-so was 19. You sort of look back and think of everyone as sort of matured adults at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You have no idea of the future at all.
Yeah.
You're just vibrantly alive in the moment. I forgot to mention that Pompeii 99 opened up for Christian Death.
Right.
At different times. I had never met I kind of met Roz one time because I was so shy. We played shows with them, 45 Grave, different things. So then I went to meet him, and I don't know how he had any kind of idea about me at all. It was a big party. But I went to rehearsal. I went down to Pomona. I drove down there and picked him up. And we were both really shy. Drove him back to Hollywood, and we had our first rehearsal. And he would sit on the floor. He'd sit in the center and have all his pages, all his writing spread out around him. And we had to learn some Only Theater Pain songs because he had some shows coming up and he didn't have anyone to work with. So there was that, learning those songs. And then there was just playing stuff. Just, I would be on the keyboard and I'd play some little riffs and if I liked it, I'd keep playing it, and then he might look up and say, I like that. And so we maybe develop that into a song, or somebody else would do it, like maybe Val would have a guitar riff, but I had this synth keyboard, and it would create a nice foundation of melody. So, and that's how Awake at the Wall and Face were made. He'd like those songs, those were a couple of my contributions. And apparently that's how he always did it. And that's, if you're a writer, that is how you do it. I've done it many times myself, just shuffled through my pages to see if something fits with something I hear. So yeah,
that makes that makes
so
sense.
it was fantastic. We practiced. We had show. Can't remember if the first show was at Alexandria Hotel with Specimen around Christmas, or if it was at the Lhasa Club. Might have been the Lhasa Club. It was really interesting standing at the keyboard and being quite pregnant at that time, playing death rock music while carrying life. I feel, now I know a lot more about being pregnant, and anyone is crazy to do what I did.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I have this. I know this is later on, because I think this is after Catastrophe Ballet, but this European tour in '84.
No, that is when we made Catastrophe Ballet.
Yeah.
We were on tour.
Right.
I was 7 months pregnant, which you're not supposed to do. I covered myself up in some kind of navy coat, and people just thought I was a big woman. But
why was it? Was that like a look that we weren't trying to? Was that not a good look for the band? Like we have to hide that you're pregnant. That's not how we want to come off.
No, that was self vanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wore drapey things, which is very popular with the goth scene. So
sure.
But yeah, this was pre-European tour, and we went on that. We were dirt poor. We had no money. None. We I guess, I don't know how we got there. I think the record company in France sent us the money to fly over. But when we arrived, I just remember there was a porter that took all our instruments and luggage, and we couldn't pay him. We gave him some change. Ooh. And he just laughed. At least he didn't beat us up. But I remember that. So yeah.
You silly Americans.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah. We're used to it. We're used to your abuse in the old world. So,
here, just a sidebar. Is your kid okay from all the things you did that you shouldn't have? Just asking.
My kid is fantastic.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
And he's a great father too.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Being a little silly here, but yes, yeah. Vincent, everything turned out fine. So yeah. This is there. Joel, you were explaining to me a little bit about the two different covers of this.
Mm-hmm. Right. That is the Italian pressing of Catastrophe Ballet, mm-hmm. and Jitan, that's you on the cover.
It is.
There's another cover for that album, which
I have this one here now.
Right.
Is this Jitan? Is this you as well? I can't tell.
No, it is not.
No.
That's a famous. I believe that's a famous art piece, surrealist art piece. I've forgotten now who did it, but that was chosen by L'Invitation à Suicide, or Invitation to Suicide. the Jan Farsi label in France, which was the reason we were over there, which is the reason we went over there, because Roz had been invited to create a record in Europe for this label. Jan Farsi was crazy about Roz, the label owner was just crazy, and he was putting out other interesting records too. I think Tones on Tail, and I've forgotten who else, but a lot of interesting bands. Is it Sex Gang Children? I can't remember, but so that was his cover. That was his art design, and I think Valor chose that naked picture of me for the other one.
Yeah, I was gonna
a reissue or something.
I was gonna say, like, how do you segue? Like, you know what? Let's get. I like this one. You know, let's do this one in Italy. The Italians will love this. Let's do. Let's. This is a naked. They'll love it in Italy.
You know, yeah. Well, that photo was from Lee Black Childers. I actually prefer the other cover.
Wow.
Yeah, Lee Black Childers, we did photo session with him, and I had the idea to paint white. These were for promo photos.
Wow.
And so I guess there was a reissue that had to happen or something. But I actually prefer the other cover myself.
Any memories, recollections of recording Catastrophe Ballet?
Oh, yeah.
Any sort of perspective you could give us on that?
Yes, well, we toured. We were on tour, and then we had the date booked at Rockfield Studios in Wales.
Wow.
Where a lot of bands. It's an amazing place. You live there.
Yeah.
You live there and record. There are two places to live. There is the what's it called? Like the livery or the stable area. That's one area. And then there's the Anchor House, which is up a road and which is haunted. The Damned stayed there. And Captain Sensible saw the same little girl ghost that David saw sitting on his bed when he went upstairs to his room. So it was really haunted. Roz was staying with a friend in one room, and he told me that one night just they had a clothes rack in the room, and all of a sudden, whoosh, something swept all the clothes off the clothes rack.
Wow.
So there was that. The room itself at Rockfield was incredible. Led Zeppelin had recorded there, like going way back. And I don't know. I should brush up again on history.
I'm looking at sort of the history there and of just who was there in the 70s. And we have Black Sabbath, Foghat, Hawkwind, Judas Priest, Queen, Rush. Wow. And then in the 80s, of course, then it's Christian Death, The Damned, Ian Gillan, Iggy Pop, the Stone Roses, and so on and so forth.
Tones on Tail, Love and Rockets.
Yeah.
We saw them there, actually, in the other area. But yeah, so it's an amazing place out in the countryside. Horses all around. There was a stables. So in one of the albums we recorded there, you hear a horse, neighing. So yeah, well, the room itself was just incredible. I loved it. I played a Wurlitzer through a Leslie, which was fantastic. And it was just the sound in the room. You couldn't beat that sound. We did record in another room another time, and I preferred that first room. So I remember while we were on tour, Valor was writing all the songs for Catastrophe Ballet. Well, not all of them, but most of them. Most all the songs. Roz contributed a few songs. I had written Awake at the Wall. And others helped fill that piece out. So one of the things that was great was that I think we incorporated a few of these songs while we were live, while we were touring. We weren't just doing Only Theater of Pain songs, but there were songs that Roz was hearing for the first time, and he would just nail them. He would just nail them. Very gifted, incredibly gifted.
Some people have that ability. It's
Yes.
it's beyond me personally, because I
Yeah.
certainly, but some people just have that ability. It's incredible.
It's a great gift.
Yeah.
I don't have it either. I can
Yeah.
improvise, but not elucidate lyrics.
Yeah,
like,
I'm like a meat and potatoes guy. I gotta like work on it.
I do too. I want to know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I
right.
want to know what I'm doing. I study and study.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting too. Staying on Catastrophe Ballet for a moment. This is in the French pressing of the album. This amazing booklet.
Oh yeah.
With photography and
Yes.
lyrics and English to French translation.
Yeah, I love that booklet.
There's
It's
some
fantastic.
Baudelaire in here. There's all sorts of things.
Yes,
The story of an ether drinker from Baudelaire. Yeah.
that's right. Yep.
What pressing is that, Joel?
This is from the French pressing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love what Jan put together there.
Yeah.
So, what always struck me growing up and being introduced to Christian Death, particularly this era, is it was more than a band. There was an artistic statement as well as a musical one and a sonic statement. And what struck me always about Roz is even if you go back a bit and you read the lyrics to the Only Theater of Pain album, those lyrics are not standard lyrics for anything else that was out at that time. The only other writer from that period that struck me the same way was Darby Crash. These
That's
are
amazing you say that.
Yeah, these are people from somewhere else, And Roz,
Right.
I think when he wrote Only Theater of Pain, he was 16, 17 years
He was
old.
16 years old.
Wow.
Which is
That's
unbelievable.
when he recorded.
That's
wild.
It. So, I have quite a few of his early writings, and he's a poet. He was a very gifted poet. This is a real gifted artistic genius, like Darby Crash.
Yeah.
His lyrics are perhaps more minimal, but they are profound.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. GDQ, Jitan Damon Quartet, we were doing We Must Bleed for a while, for a short period before we went on a kind of COVID hiatus. And I started studying these lyrics and songs, and I thought, wow, man, what would these be like in a ballad form? And I talked to Paul about it, and he goes, I wanted to do that too. I was like, these songs are so great. We could do them as ballads, So, you got something really prolific, profound. You could do it many ways, but the writing holds up.
Absolutely. And the performances do as well. Skipping ahead just a little bit to the next album, I just want to bring up one song in particular, which was Lament, which was your debut lead vocal in the Christian Death.
Oh, yeah.
A duet with Roz. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that Roz's performance on that track was completely improvised. He just went in and did that. Is that correct?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know if he just made that up.
Yeah.
He might have. He
Yeah.
might have.
I know he was very quick to come up with ideas that weren't just "Baby, I love you." Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh,
There
no.
was something
No.
totally different coming from him.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was a piece of formed writing or not, but he certainly improvised singing there.
Mm.
I did too. I didn't even know German. I learned it 2 hours before I had to go sing it. Apparently, I have a Bavarian accent in that piece. So yeah, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did improvise that.
There you go.
Well, I know with Ashes too, there was another component who added became an additional part of the Christian Death world at that point. Eric Westfall.
Yes.
who I know produced some things. How did he ultimately sort of impact where Christian Death was at that point in time?
Well, actually, he joined us for Catastrophe Ballet
Mm.
as well. He was there for Catastrophe Ballet and engineered or helped produce, and he was a part of the band on tour. And so he what did he played? He played an arp. He played an arp. So when you hear the kind of wave-like sounds in Drowning,
Mm.
he's playing the arp, and I believe he did sound for us. He was a great friend, and he's still around doing amazing things. He's a real genius, that guy. He would, I believe, he would do sound, and from the soundboard, he would play the arp as well.
Mm.
So he wasn't actually on stage with us, and he was he helped create the set. He helped create with the production a lot there, and he was on tour with us. Some of Ashes, I would say, would be dedicated to him.
One of
Sonic-
the,
oh,
Go ahead, Joel.
between the two records,
Yeah.
Ashes, particularly the title track, which is around the 7-minute mark, and it has different sections and it cascades, and there's all kinds of things going on. Ashes to me always sort of represented a major step forward sonically, songwriting wise, than Catastrophe Ballet. How would you kind of characterize Ashes in the course of your history of Christian Death as a record, and perhaps rate it within the greater discography of the band when you were a member?
Well, I loved Catastrophe Ballet. That was a good beginner for a new lineup, and we followed through with this atmosphere of surrealism that Roz really wanted to attain. Now, when Christian Death dissolved, the original Christian Death dissolved, he actually wanted to change the name of the band to Daucus Carota, which was a character in some surrealist tale. I've forgotten which one it is. I'm very sorry. It's a long time ago. But that was a no-no. He had to stick with the name Christian Death, according to the record company. So he wanted to embrace surrealism. I believe the record's dedicated to Andre Breton as well. And I think that Ashes is more expansive emotionally and sonically, I believe. We did it in Rusk Studios in Los Angeles. There's a lot more, I think there's a lot more kind of some, it's more, the songs are kind of more defined. To me they are. Because Ashes is so potent, and it's so, it's so intense. And whereas Catastrophe Ballet is more dreamy, it has a more dreamy quality to it. And Ashes is a little more, it has a little more like bite somehow, even though they're the soft pieces when I was bed. I know what a lot of those songs are actually about, who they were inspired by, etc. So it's a love song album in many ways that also embraces Dadaism and surrealism with Roz, which was a big part of his writing at that time.
I really enjoyed one of the joys of doing this show is having guests like yourself on when I do my homework and do a really deep dive into the catalog, and listening to so much of your stuff in the past week. That record really stands out. It's really
powerful.
Yeah, it is. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
It's somehow got these extreme potencies in it
Yeah.
You know, that whereas Catastrophe Ballet is more dreamy, and I think it really embraces a surrealist kind of dreaminess, subconscious area,
Yep.
much more than Ashes. Ashes always, to me, kind of just, you get a real sock from it, you know? You get a
Yeah.
punch.
Makes sense. You know, so moving along. You know, I know we don't want to, sort of get into everything, and I know that sort
Yeah.
of what happened with with Christian Death and with Roz, and you know how I think I want to play it is let's let's jump forward, and we
Okay.
can jump back at some point, but let's talk about years later when you collaborated with Roz. Let's
Oh,
talk about
thank
this.
you.
I think it's a nice way to go, right?
You're
Let's
a
talk.
dear. You're very darling for
I you
that.
know
Those are very.
I stay up late at night thinking about this stuff.
I
Um,
was up late last night too, and I just, I had a good answer, but this is
yeah,
even better.
yeah.
You know,
Let's go here. Let's talk about
okay.
you and Roz
Yeah,
getting back together a couple years later, and this fantastic album. And
thank
Joel,
you.
after Jitan, maybe you can give us your take on it. So please.
Okay.
Well, I absolutely love this album. I heard it when it first came out in the mid '90s. Blew me away. I think it's among Roz's best work, certainly, and so nice to have your voices together and just have the two of you represented on a standalone album. Um, and as Drew said, this was the first time you two had collaborated creatively in 8 years or so, if my math is correct. So, first of all, how did the collaboration sort of rekindle itself after that time? And when you look back at this experience, what stands out for you now recording this particular album with Roz?
Okay, so, well, we got back together. When I left Christian Death, I immediately got a letter from Roz thanking me for leaving the band. And he said, I would really love to work with you for some time. I would love to work with you soon. So, not long, well, I think about some months later, he was going to be on tour with his band Dacus Carata in Europe. I might be off. It may have been a little bit longer than that. It wasn't '89, so I got back with it. It was about a year later. He was a year or two later, and he was in Europe, and I drove to the south of Germany to see him, to Nuremberg. I think he was playing in Nuremberg, or was it Bochum somewhere. I drove from Amsterdam. I was living in Amsterdam then, and I drove to see him, and it was absolutely fantastic to see him. And so I'm trying to remember if he came.
Was
When he came,
was that the first time you saw him in person for many years?
well, I'd seen him. Let's see, '85. It was at least six, or it was at least 6 years, maybe 6 years.
Was it emotional?
It was so emotional. I gotta say, I smoked a huge spliff in the car, and I had to, like, I was so high that I was like, I could hardly speak to him, but it didn't matter. The emotion was there.
Yeah.
I could not drive the car back. I had to lay down, and but I thought somehow that would cure.
It was a good tactic at the time.
At the time, it was one of those things that didn't, but it didn't matter because we had been very, very, very close. We had a lot in common, emotionally, and so we could talk about intimate things. And so the next thing that happened was we went on Nico B, he planned a tour for us in Europe, for my band to open for his band. And this happened before Dream Home Heartache, a few years, because it was a few years before then. I should have brushed up on my own background, but we toured. Roz ended up staying in Amsterdam with us for a while. We talked a lot about, about some things that why he left, why he understood why I stayed in the band, having a child and all. And we did this tour, which was really rigorous and good. He went back to the States. Then my partner, he was managing me, he thought, well, you should record together. You should record together. And he threw out some suggestions, and Roz negated those. And then Roz said, I'd like to do In Every Dream Home a Heartache. And I thought, fabulous, that's great. And we were initially just going to do a couple of songs. We just had my musicians, only two of them, in fact. I had a three-piece band, piano, fretless bass, and a drummer. The drummer couldn't make it, so we ultimately just had the two players. And we went into the studio with Ken Thomas, who is an amazing producer who sadly passed away. But he's well known in Britain. If you don't know him, you could research him. He's incredible. He's worked from everyone to the Sex Pistols to Psychic TV and beyond. He was coming out of, I don't know who he was working with, whether it was Coil or who he was working with. He knew all of them, but he had been in a cave recording crystals. So anyway, he came to Belgium, to Mark X's studio, and we recorded Manic Depression and In Every Dream Home a Heartache so quickly, and we didn't know really, we were ahead of time. So Roz had the song Flowers, which had been a guitar track on tour, and I urged him to do that. Problem was, it's so repetitive. The bass player had to leave early the next morning, so he couldn't learn the bass part. Roz tried to play the bass part. He couldn't do it. So the pianist learned it, and I suggested putting the organ underneath it to fill it out, and that worked. And in the meantime, we did those two songs. Then we figured out what other songs we might have, what other music, and we kind of made it up in the studio. It's true that my pianist had some material, and we figured out words for those pieces, threw in a little, what's it called? Accordion, and there you have Dream Home Heartache. We had a Moog as well to help add some atmosphere. I think I'm doing one song where there's just reverb, like an after effect of reverb, that's the backing that sounds very lunar. So we kind of made it up. We made most all the whole EP up, except for the two songs. So it was an experience, of course, as recording always is. We didn't have any idea what kind of impact it might have. We were told that we created Cabaret Noir, which Cabaret Noir has been around forever, hasn't it? Maybe just to the goth scene, I don't know. But it has a great atmosphere to it, and it was very heartfelt.
It's a great record.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about Roz for a moment specifically. Sadly, he left us too soon, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And he left prior to the internet becoming what it is today.
Yeah.
And when someone is unfortunately not around to tell their own story, other people tend to tell it for them. And, there is a mythology, and in some cases, a lot of misinformation surrounding Roz in particular, and anyone I think who leaves before their time and their work is still being discovered. People need to fill those holes, and they sometimes fill them with incorrect notions or gossip or misinterpretations and what have you. I've had conversation, certainly with you over the years and other people who did have the good fortune of knowing Roz and working with Roz. And I've heard nothing but incredibly fond and positive memories, especially, I think by all accounts, everyone says that Roz was a very funny person. And that sometimes gets overlooked when people.
He's probably the most hilarious person he's
Well,
had such a great sense of humor, very quick-witted, superb.
And because you had obviously years of experience working with him and traveling with him, and what might be some things that maybe people wouldn't necessarily know about him without knowing him that adds to the magic of who he was? What might be some things that might be surprising if people learned about Roz and how he was in his day-to-day living and creative process?
I mean, he got up in the afternoon. And his companions would usually get him some breakfast. I know when he was staying with me, I'd get him breakfast, and he liked to read, so he'd do some reading. He had his shows. When he watched Rosie, I think, and he liked all these. I can't stand soap operas or TV, so I'd never go over when they were watching them, and this would be, I don't know, around 3 or 4, and be having cocktails and watching their shows and laughing, just laughing. And he'd be dressed up. He'd have a straw hat on, or, they just dressing for the day, depending on what they're watching. And we'd meet up, and we'd go somewhere. He go somewhere, maybe Griffith Park Observatory, when I had a home of my own with my kids, who he adored, absolutely adored. They'd come over there. We're like a little family. There was Eric, Ryan, Savon, sorry. There were like 4 or 5 of us, and then there was also more musician friends that were around quite a lot. And in the evening, he would hold court. People would come, friends would come, supplying cigarettes and alcohol usually. Roz was an alcoholic, and that was a big problem. And he was, when he wasn't working, I think, I was trying to figure out his depression, and I thought, well, alcohol is a depressant, so I tried to get him to just start off with white wine instead of a cocktail, drinking cocktails early. Make sure he was well fed. I was always like the mama, for everybody. I was making sure that, he ate and drank some water and just caring for him. And if you look at his lyrics, a lot of them are not real happy. He was trying to tell us something. We discussed this. I'd tell him, he lived with me for really lived in Amsterdam for about a month, and I'd say, we talk about waking up, and I'd say, well, when I wake up, I'm like, okay, what can I do with this day? I've got a day, what can I come up with here? And he would tell me, well, when I wake up, I just want to cry or go back to sleep.
Oof,
And
that's tough.
and I'm older, I know that kind of dread.
Sure.
Maybe it's because of living through this stupid pandemic, or I don't know what, or getting older, seeing so many people die around me, I wake up and I will immediately kind of have a dread, and that I have to say, hey, you know, it's a good day, and dissolve it. But maybe he was a lot younger and feeling that way. I don't know if it was dread or what, but he had you know, nowadays we've got it figured out, right? You got bipolar 2. If you're suicidal, you got bipolar 2.
PSD.
PSD,
You know?
yeah, man, sure. Lots of traumas, you know, many imbalances. And at the time, I used to talk to him and say, hey, let's get you to a doctor.
Yeah.
Let's get you to a doctor, and maybe you can get some help for this, you know. And I wasn't the only one that wanted to help him this way. And he had a very fatalistic attitude that he was too far gone. And I, you know,
which is somewhat mind-boggling when you look at, sadly, he was so young when he passed.
Yeah.
You know,
and
so far gone at what, 31, 32, 33 years old?
Yeah,
like,
yes. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
I also felt like I was too far gone at that time.
Sure.
It's so stupid. I wasn't an alcoholic, but I had some problems, and I thought, you know, well,
Sure.
so they'll just, you know, I'll just die, you know, and that's what he thought, you know. So you'll just die, you know.
Right.
And I'm, you know, so we tried to help him. All of us tried to help him. I think, I'm not sure, but he wasn't playing a lot. He wasn't out playing a lot, which he was a performer. He was a star. He wasn't, I don't know, some people feel that they needed industry support. They needed to be wealthy. He was supported by Triple X, who paid, you know, helped pay quite a bit for some records, and but that wasn't enough. So we helped supplement his food and cigarettes, and some brought liquor and things. But I don't know if it's just where he found himself at that time of not being able to express all that he was, and instead consuming alcohol and whatever else was available. He was, you know, he was a known addict of sorts, but he had stopped with that and gone through the paces with another friend, and he was clear of heroin, is what I'm saying. He played a show in Hollywood, and then he played another show back east somewhere. I don't know. I don't think you weren't living out there then, Joel. I don't think, or were you? Did you see him play? Where was it? He played with David E. Williams. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I missed it.
And he was so provoking, you know. I never knew him to be a, you know, Nazi, but the good old symbols are very provoking, as in the early punk days. And he had a swastika flag on stage, and they shut the show down, and he was carted off, I guess.
Oof.
But you know, this was back, you know. I mean, he was very provoking. Anyway, he was in a depressed state, although maybe the couple of people that would visit him would say that he wasn't. I don't know. He was in a depressed state, and he chased all his closest friends away.
Well,
at the end.
Well,
even his beloved roommate. What did you say, Drew?
Alcohol and drugs will do that, sadly.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just part of it. And I speak from personal experience.
Yes.
Is that, you know, the gloom that surrounds alcoholism and drug addiction, you can't see past it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's very sad. And you know, with a lot of people, and this is all in hindsight, 2020, in retrospect, is you feel if we could only have just got him separated from all that for a minute, then there would be some clarity. But unfortunately, it just doesn't. It doesn't happen with everybody.
We were trying.
Yeah,
we were
of
trying
course.
to separate. He kind of got glommed on.
Yeah.
He got surrounded by a couple of people who added fire into the water in the pan. You know what I mean?
I hate
and
to use the word, but
exacerbate.
enablers. Enablers.
Yes, thinking that
Yeah.
thinking otherwise, and so he chased us off. His beloved roommate, friend, came back, and the minute he entered the apartment, he knew. He knew, and he kicked the door in, and
Oof.
and I'll never forget. It's like it was very difficult at times to keep him alive. It was difficult to keep him alive, and what a joy he was when he was in his element, and what he could have done.
Yeah.
What he could have done. Imagine how far he could have gone.
Sure.
So we say no to suicide. Hang in there. It's a moment of insanity.
Absolutely.
It's just you're insane every time. You're insane. You can be insane when you play and when you're creating art and everything, but this is a moment of permanent. It creates something permanent, and
Absolutely.
you can't go back, and it's a huge loss. And if you get help, there are people to help you. You have to understand that it's a flashing thing. You could be mindful and do some deep breathing if you could, and it'll pass. All our thoughts pass. They're just thoughts.
Yeah.
So get help for the pain of living. There are a lot of ways for that aside from drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
And so I know Paul and I, we made a record that has a lot to do with this, with what could have been. What could have been with Darby Crash and Roz Williams. They were both just such incredible artists, so profound and deeply meaningful in their work. And to throw it away for for some kind of idea is, it's taken me years and years and years to get over the loss of a great friend, as well as other people. So we all know how that feels.
Sure.
But thank goodness that you got through it, Drew. The addiction and everything.
Well, I'm just happy. I just live a great life, and I'm just happy that these things are way in my past, and it's been a long time, and I have that perspective now, and I tell my loved ones, and I tell people that are going through it. It's just, one thing that was actually came down from my father was, don't react in the moment.
Yeah.
It's really a one of the most valuable things that I've ever not only been told, but have actually grasped and made it as part of my life. And sure, sometimes that's not the case, but I always just try to live.
It's a good one.
Don't react in the moment. And what I say now is, in the case, and I say it jokingly, but there's a lot of truth to it, is in the face of a disaster or a catastrophe, I like to take a nap. I like to go to sleep and get some sleep, and wake up with a fresh head, and then at least sleep on it and not react in the moment.
Exactly.
And so
that's some of the best advice. I had to learn that years later. The years that when punk was kind of came out, you know,
Yeah.
not the pre-years, but we came from an era that
Sure.
was just so fucked up.
Yeah.
You know, it was so fucked up, and we were all rebellious and having to take care of, you know, maybe we had a home. Maybe we had a home and we had food and shelter, but the rest, you know, moms were back to work. We didn't have, our parents, you know, were working their asses off. Nobody, you know, we were all you know, not looked after properly, although we were provided. But there's just rebellions in the era, the Vietnam War, the
Sure.
government. Give me a break.
Yeah.
You know, and coming out of this time of the clean Americans brushing everything under the carpet, you know,
it sort of reminds me of what's going on right now in this world. You know, just such a volatile time we live in. You know, I live right in Manhattan. I'm right and like I'm right. I go out in the morning. It's like it's people talk about the 60s and the 70s. It's a volatile time right now that we live in. There's things are really polarizing, and it's really intense, and it's
get it while you can. Get
right.
You know,
like Jim Morrison said, I'm gonna have my kicks before the whole shit house caves in.
Exactly. I want to die laughing.
Yeah,
you know.
Really hey, I need to do a sponsor break, you guys.
Sure.
Let me do a quick sponsor break, a couple minutes. Let's give them you know, their airtime, and let's come back and let's talk about the quartet, and let's talk about the future. We'll take some questions around the world. Okay. I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Our guest today is Jitan Damon. We're having a great time. I hope you are too. And now a word from our sponsors.
Since 1992, Generation Records has been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today, they offer a diverse selection of new and used rock, jazz, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues, soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as t-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections and music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey guys, Vlad from Organic Grill. As you can see, we're in a new location on West 3rd Street, right by Blue Note and Comedy Central. The place is bigger, kitchen is bigger, we have more varieties, more food. We are looking forward to treat you guys with great dishes. All Hardcore Chronicles, welcome to Organic Grill. We are going to serve all the events as we usually do, and we are happy to see you guys.
Peace, what it do? Welcome to NYHC Comics at 117 Main Street, Dobbs, Surrey, New York. I'm Debo the Pro with my homie
Lee Farley.
Welcome to the spot. Specializing in yesterday's and today's comic books, rare CGCs, toys, collectibles.
Got skateboards, old school tapes, Magic the Gathering, Warhammer.
Video games, original art pieces by your favorite New York City and worldwide artists. Let's go. Skate decks all day, baby.
We also have the young reader section here for like 10 and under. Pops. People love the Pops.
Star Wars! We are New York Hardcore. We always rep the scene. Let's get it on.
And we're back. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Just a couple of things. I'm sure there's a couple of you out there wondering, how can I support this show? Well, funny you should ask. There is a Patreon page. Please be a patron. I want to shout out the newest, our latest friends and supporters, Jean and Nerd Cage Live. listen, I guess when you join Patreon, you can put it under any name, right? So I want to thank Gene and Nerd Cage Live. By the way, everybody on Patreon who has got the book for free, the second volume of the book is getting closer. Free for all my friends on Patreon. So that's going to be a couple months out. So everybody, all you patrons are going to get the second volume of the New York Hardcore Chronicles. It will be volume 2, 1990 to 1999. Free for all of you. So join Patreon. Support the show that supports you. There's a PayPal address there. Also, it turned up before when we start doing questions. If you want to support the show, there's a super chat function. It comes through in color. I can't miss it. You'll get right. You'll get priority. So there you go. If you're watching the show in rerun, there is a subscribe button right there. Please subscribe to the show. If you have a communication device, which I'm pretty sure you do, please follow the show on Instagram at Stone Films NYC. Get up, get out, make it happen. That said, coming up next on the show, a week from today, is Chris Spencer from Unsane. Then a week later is my old friend, film director Paul Rackman. He directed American Hardcore and a whole bunch of music videos that you loved back in the day, including Alice in Chains, Man in the Box, Sepultura, Territory, Bad Brains, Soulcraft. Tim Shaw has been rescheduled for Sunday, July 23rd. Carl from Earth Crisis will be on the 26th talking about his new band, Freya, their new release. Yo, Josh Jerk from School Drugs is coming on. They're in Europe touring right now. Love this band. They will be playing the Bowery Electric in a couple of months. From Articles of Faith, Redshift, Jones Very, and Dead Ending, Vic Bondi. Chicago represent on Sunday, August 6th. Evo from Warfare, August 9th. And this one we just announced, it's the Martin Scorsese film retrospective, part 1. I had enough sense to go, you know what, let's make this part 1, because this is a long and arduous thing. So excited to have Don back on the show. We're going to be talking about all the Scorsese stuff and all that. What else? Next show coming up is at the Bowery Electric live, free, all ages. Dog Eat Dog, Kings Never Die, Incendiary Device. It's going to jump off tonight. Dead Crew and Serial Poets. It is Scott Dotino and Stephen Messina's birthday bash. It's free. If it's free, it's for me. All ages Sunday matinee on the Bowery. Listen, seriously, just be at the show. I swear to God, I will unleash my dogs of war. We will come to your house and do horrible things to you and your loved ones. Just come down to the show. Support it. So there you go. What else? I think we're good. I think we want to bring our guests back on. Everybody get in position. Am I forgetting anything? No, I think we're good. We're going to, what time is it? Yeah. You know what? Let's try to, we'll do it all at once. Well, no, let's wait for the questions a second. Let's bring on co-host Joel Ghostin.
Hey.
Hey, what's happening? And
all
right.
Hanging out with Jitan and you.
And Jitan, yeah. So okay, cool. So let's pick it up. Oh, Wilma says hi, Jitan. I'm not sure who Wilma is, but she says hi.
Hi, Wilma.
Yeah. All right. Yes, Wilma, you've come to the right place. Jitan is our guest today. Let's talk about. You know what? I want to talk about this right here. I think this is a cool sidebar. Tell us about this. What's happening here?
Oh, this was a band. With my daughter.
Uh-huh.
My daughter Zara, that's Zara there. So what happened was I lived in Berlin for a year, and I recorded a record that was never really released because the contract turned out to be really bad. If I would have signed it, I would have been enslaved to the industry. and coerced into being some kind of pop diva. So I got the fuck out of there and I came back to California and I lived in a little garage and I taught myself to play guitar. Just rhythm guitar, you know, but I made up these chords, these crazy dissonant chords. And then I moved to an apartment and my daughter was on the East Coast. My son came out, my daughter came out to stay out in California. And I got tired of playing guitar. By that time I had made up songs and I was playing at parties and things like that. And I asked my daughter to accompany me on maracas because I had some maracas and showed her some beats and stuff. And it went from there on to some huge toms that I had. They were toms that belonged to a 70s kit. Some, you know, like kit that had every size tom, but I had wanted maximum sound for my buck. So I got these couple of huge toms, which I played with mallets. And so I asked her, okay, so she loved doing the maraca. She liked hanging out with me, and she was like 15. She ended up accompanying me, and we became Christelles.
Wow.
We were a two-piece. She was her forte at the time was oil painting. She wanted to be a painter, so we'd often hang some paintings on. We had a screen and we'd hang paintings on there, and the two of us would play. She ended up playing the toms and a snare. The toms were so heavy that they took the place of bass drum. And I had one big Zildjian ride. It was very heavy and an old snare, but it was a nice snare, but it was an old snare. And Joel's the drummer. He knows how we sounded.
Yep.
And she had crazy beats, and I had some crazy rhythms going on with the guitar and sang over the whole thing. And we became Christelles, and we played a lot. She was too young to get into clubs, so we'd often...
Did she sing?
She didn't sing in the beginning. She did love to sing, and she could have, but she didn't want to.
Teenagers, you know.
She was new, you know. She was these were her first introduction to playing live.
Yeah, it takes a couple years before you're ready to let it all out up there, you know.
It did, you know. Well, she was letting it out with the drums more and more.
Yeah.
And we made a record at a to me a legendary studio, which is no more, unfortunately. The Distillery in Costa Mesa, which run by just this genius guy, Mike McHugh. He built microphones, and he'd plant them all over the place where you didn't know they were, and it was a huge, tall room. And he was a drummer, so you'd really get the drums.
It was in Costa Rica?
Costa Mesa.
Costa Mesa.
Yeah.
Costa Mesa.
Yeah, that's do you know where that is? South of LA.
Yep.
Orange County.
Yeah.
So the band we went on, we were playing like every week. She was too young to get into clubs. We have to wait in the car till we played and go on. Then we did this for like what was it? 8 years, I guess, something like that. No, longer than that. No, I guess it was. We did a European tour in 2011. We recorded a second album. We recorded one album called Attach and Detach. We recorded a second album, but unfortunately Mike McHugh had gone the way of heavy drugs and wasn't able to mix the pieces, mix the stuff. In the meantime, we had one good mix, and that is on my Jitan Damon official page. It's on there for a Roz birthday or something, because it was written for him. Anyway, we did quite a lot of touring. We played in Europe. We did a tour with Sioux City Pete and the Beggars, a very heavy band, very, very heavy band across the states. We played. I think we played in New York too at a punk club. This was quite a while ago, though, 2008. So with the second album, Zara did sing. She did sing, but we don't have those pieces, unfortunately.
Okay.
And it was great because I love playing guitar without having to sing.
Yeah.
I saw you and Zara perform. It may have been, I don't think you were using the Christel's name yet. It was at a record store in Griffith Park, right? And that was like 2004, I believe. It was, she had the big toms, like the standing toms. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That was at a record store. Then your first official show, I think, was a little bit later. And if I remember correctly, you guys very kindly invited me to that show. It was my last night living in Los Angeles, and I took a show at the Cat Club myself, playing it in Ramones cover band.
Oh, wow.
I regret missing your show. In hindsight, I should have just gone to see you.
No. We all got to do what we got to do.
Yeah.
But I love that album. And how has Zara been these days? Is she still doing art?
She sure is.
That's great.
Yep. If you notice on that booklet for Despair, I mean on that little film for Despair, there's a couple paintings, and she did those. I actually commissioned her to do 10 paintings for the 10 acts in the opera.
Oh wow!
And so yeah, those are older. She's just growing all the time. She's doing animation. She's doing art journalism. She's incredible.
Fantastic.
Both my kids are.
Fantastic. I want to touch on the quartet and the history of the quartet and what's happening. Hey, Joel, could you, for those that are watching that may not know sort of the idiosyncrasies, just give us some perspective on the quartet and sort of Paul's involvement and that?
Sure. Well, Paul obviously has been a past guest on this show as well, and a good friend of ours and someone I've known for a long time. And the quartet, yourself, Jitan, Rick Agnew, the great Rick Agnew, Paul Rossler, and Deb Venom. I believe there have been 2 albums by the quartet at this point. And I can tell you personally, and we've talked about this already, Jitan, in the past, but when you and Paul sort of united and began collaborating, I was so excited because having known you both individually, I always knew that would be such a cool end result if you guys were in the same space together. And the quartet, is that still a working entity at this point in time?
I think we have a show on Friday, October 13th with 45 Grave and possibly Eva O, which would be a wonderful comeback show. Our last show was the Phantoms book release, and that was wonderful. And we were playing a lot and doing a lot of things. I was putting together punk orchestras and choirs and all kinds of things at Cafe Nila, and with the quartet involved, of course, too. So that may be our comeback. We've been trying to do this Copro gallery art opening. We like to play not just regular shows, not just bar shows, but some different kind of things. So
yeah,
I'm hoping that one comes through, that we'll be doing that. We love playing together. We love playing. So we'll see if that happens. Otherwise, I'll have to plan some event.
You know what I think set into motion you being a guest on the show today is when Paul was on the show, we were getting into it, and his doorbell rang, and he said, "Oh, I think that's Jitan," and then my girlfriend was here, who, by the way, is a huge fan of your work.
Oh, tell her thank you.
I will, and then she overheard that, and she said, "You better get Jitan on your show." And I said, "You know what? You're right, Joel. Can we make that happen? You think?"
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. So it's kind of how things work here. You know, one thing sort of falls into the other. You know.
Well, it was great. Rick and I got together as a couple, and we immediately started gelling some ideas together. And then we went to record at Paul's with Deb. Deb was involved. So the three of us went to record at Paul's, and Paul jumped in on it. He jumped in on the recordings, which he is wont to do. He will do that. And then he asked us to play at this Screamers retrospective. Ava Braun with him. He was on piano. So we did that song, and then, I don't know, Paul started coming. He came to the next show and played, and then, he just loved it. And I love it. It began... it was like a pinnacle for me at that time to work with these great artists, Rick Agnew and Paul Roessler. I mean, okay, I can die now, So yeah, that was fantastic. And in the meantime, I've been recording with Paul. And
yeah, tell us about what's this new recording.
So I have this opera coming out, which is ready, but it needs to be shipped from Germany. It's true, there's just 100 limited box sets, but that's because we couldn't afford to make more. I had money at the time, and now I don't. So we had those made, and CD will come out later with the opera, so anybody who wants to hear it can for, much, much easier price. So there's that coming out, but then there's also this incredible symphony piece that Paul and I made together. He wrote the music. I asked him, I wanted to give an homage to someone very, very important to me who we've actually talked about on this show, but I don't want to exploit anyone's name. So I wanted to give homage by, and hopefully a final one, because I don't want to keep having a song all the time for him, for my friend. Anyway, so I said I want to do something classical. And so he wrote me 2 pieces. I didn't know if he was going to write more. We finished those 2 pieces. COVID happened. We got I was taking care of my dad, and so we were apart. And then we got back together and said, hey, he had written another piece. There ended up being 7 pieces to it. It is a story which has a lot to do with things we've been talking about, the time we were born in, the time became the punk era, coming out of what I call the bruised era. Genius artists creating their own legend, but through a very negative way of committing suicide, and what could have happened if they didn't commit suicide, our feelings about it, the act itself, and then coming full circle with it. So it's the pinnacle of my life, of my musical life, is creating this piece. And he said he wants to do it again. So, and in the meantime, I will throw out that I've started hopefully what will end up being something that we are able to perform and record. Rick Agnew, Deb Venom, Sam Hare from Rick Agnew Band we put a band together. We put a band together, and we're working on songs right now. So hopefully we'll be doing that and more recording work as well.
Bring it to the East Coast, please.
Thank you. Would love to.
Joel, before we sort of ask for questions, anything, any color commentary, any perspective you want to lend at this point? I know we didn't touch on Facets of Blue with Love and Dementia. Any
It's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
I don't look back.
Yeah.
Well, those 2 particular records are amazing records from the 90s. They're both available on Jitan's Bandcamp page. I would definitely recommend them both. With Love and Dementia, God, that album, Jitan. When I was in college, I listened to that almost every.
Really?
Oh yeah, this is before we met, and I was, For the viewers, I was in a band with Jitan's son for a couple of years in LA, and that's how we became friends. But this is well before then. I used to listen to that record all the time.
Oh my gosh! Thank you.
So it's there was a mention of Billie Holiday in that musical earlier. It's a bit in that vein. I would really just encourage anyone to check it out if they're not familiar with it. It's a live recording. It's got a fantastic quality live sound, great instrumentation, great vocals, and that's on Jitan's Bandcamp page. So definitely give that a listen. I did want to give a plug too. You had mentioned the Phantoms book, so I wanted to bring that up.
Please.
This phone book of a book.
I know, Mikey Bean.
Good old Mikey Bean. This is a book that which way? This way.
There
Okay.
you go.
Yeah, Mikey Bean was or is a fellow in England who spent close to.
Wow, that looks great.
It is great. It's a great book.
At first, when you pulled it up, I thought of Ed Culver, but no, this is Mikey Bean.
Look at this.
Mikey Bean he wrote it.
Oh, he wrote
collected,
it. Okay.
He
It's
put everything together.
It's an oral history of Los Angeles death rock from the late 70s through about 2010-ish. And Mikey spent about 10 years putting this together. He interviewed hundreds of people. Somehow I ended up in here as well.
Oh, good.
And he actually wrote a section about the band Savannah and I had.
Wow, great.
Photos, and I submitted some photos as well. If you, in the viewing audience, want to check out a fantastic book, in my never humble opinion, actually, this is probably the finest music book I've ever read. And it's incredibly detailed. And Mikey wasn't particularly a journalist. He was just a fan who loved.
No, he was a fan.
And put together really.
Well, sometimes that's really the best perspective, isn't it?
Absolutely. So I would really recommend this book. It's got great information on Christian death and Roz and Gitane and various other musicians who were involved in that scene. 45 Grave, Community FK, right? That's super heroines, all kinds of fantastic.
Everything is in there that he could.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really fantastic.
The things the size of a phone book.
Oh yeah, it's like 600 plus pages. It's amazing.
Wow.
I have a bibliography and stuff in the back too.
That's great.
Yeah.
Index.
It's massive.
It's massive.
It's a great book.
I don't even know how much time we have, but
we got as much time as feels comfortable. So
okay.
Well, let's not be shy. Let's not shy away from it. I'm going to take a quick break in a little bit and do a quick sponsor shout out, and then we'll come back and we'll take some questions from around the world. But if you have anything, please feel free.
I just want to say that this, Paul puts this. Did you listen to that symphonic piece? Drew? Did you get a chance to hear it?
No, I did not.
You didn't, Joel. What do you think? What do you think of that? It's amazing what Paul had never written anything like that before. And I go through the pieces. I'm absolutely fascinated with the music that he created.
Is this Funeral or Feather?
No.
No.
That's one of the pieces in it.
Right.
Is Feather.
So when you're referring
it's
to
called
the symphonic, you're talking to the whole thing.
It's a symphony. It's a symphony. It's called The New Young Kings of Midnight. It will be coming out later this year.
Got it.
And I just wondered what Joel,
I've had the opportunity to listen to it in full a few times. Paul was gracious enough to send it my way a few weeks back. And it's an honor knowing you both because
you too.
Having a glimpse into the creative process that you both individually have, and then hearing it together, musically speaking, I think it's the apex of what Paul's done musically, and I can very confidently say with you as well. I think not only do you work well together, but you've elevated one another working together in this context.
It's just been the most fantastic process. It really has. I moved to be near where the studio was, and we worked. He'd present me with the music, and I loved listening. I don't know where it came from, like the way that he made this music. We'd have to listen I'd make him play track by track, and ask him, where did this come from? Where did that come from? And it was absolutely mind-bogglingly fascinating. I'd go home, and I'm not a really big computer keyboard fan, so I think I bust through like 2 or 3 computers writing this symphony, the material for it. Go home and type all night and work on the piece, and then go take him the lyrics the next day. And it was just an amazing process. I never had that quite like that for such big music, and difficult music too. Very difficult. He had to guide me through a fair amount of it, because I couldn't figure the note out.
Wow.
So yeah, but I just wanted to give a little more shout to that. And then there's the opera Despair, which you've seen the little promo at the beginning for, and that was quite a process as well. Something very new areas. That's what's so great about music. It's anything you can think of, you can go there. It's fantastic. Anyway, I know you got to do a sponsor, so.
Oh, I got. I
Yeah.
just put up the wrong thing.
Go
I'm
ahead.
excited. I'm excited to burn a CD and listen to it in the car with Rochelle. So
Oh wow.
yeah, that's what we
Oh.
that's what we do here. We burn CDs because we have
Yeah.
an older car, and
That's
then we
the
listen
best.
to it in the car.
I love it.
Yeah,
I've been doing that for so long, and before that it was cassettes.
yeah.
I miss it. Now there's Spotify or something.
Yeah, I'm not connected to that in the car. So
I'd rather be able to listen to my CDs in the car.
it's such an incredible concept, right? If years ago somebody said you won't need any of this. You'll just be able to anything you want to listen to, just go bing. It's like on TV. It'll all be right there. You don't have to get all these channels. You could just incredible.
Yeah, that's part of the dread when I wake up.
Yeah.
It's got to do with the past, which quickly disappeared.
That's right.
The past that we all knew, which quickly was eradicated, and too fast to process, really. So I have this, Rick has it too. My John, who lives with us, a few people that I know very closely. We are all a little bit trying not to pay attention to the sickness of
Sure.
more than nostalgia, but it's like like the rug got yanked out, and we're still kind of like we're walking, but a little looking behind. Okay, that's the dread that I wake up with.
Yeah, and also the fact that things seem to double and triple faster and faster.
Yeah.
My dad was on the last show, and he just turned 90.
Wow.
And I said to him, like, Pop, when you were young, it was radio. People would gather around the radio, and it was an incredible experience. You all there. And it was technology at its finest. And here he is at 90, seeing this now he's playing around with this AI thing, and it's just like, could you imagine a 90-year-old what he's seen in his lifetime? It's unbelievable.
My dad passed at 99, and we used to
Wow.
talk about this stuff. And my mom, they didn't before radio. Guess what they did? They gathered round the piano.
That's right.
They sang songs. Imagine that.
Yeah, community and culture.
Yeah.
It's very what's the word I'm looking for? I'm like very clannish in a certain. It's like you get together with your clan and you tell stories and you play songs and that's how stories are handed down.
That's right. That's right. It's songs, all of that. It's,
Let me do a quick sponsor break, and I'll see you in 2 minutes, and we'll take some questions from around the world, okay? Well, there you have it. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, Upstate Records, and 126 Hardcore Clothing. They're a streetwear brand for restless individuals who don't compromise. They're about being positive, spontaneous, and true to yourself. For years, they experimented with several printing methods and materials and collaborated with a large number of designers and illustrators, always giving room for fresh perspectives while retaining the hardcore attitude. Get in touch with them, ramp up your game at www.126clothing.com. Hey, by the way, any questions for our guest today? Jitan Damon, please post your questions now. Don't be shy. Get creative. Get creative. Go deep. Get weird. Don't get too weird. DTFM Vinyl Distro. Looking for extreme music? DTFM Vinyl has got you. Located in 13th Ave in Fargo, North Dakota, we have the state's best selection of punk, hardcore, metal, ska, oi, and more. Oi. Can't make it in? Shop online from anywhere in the country at www.dtfmvinyldistro.com. DTFM Vinyl, where the policy still is and always will be death to false metal. Want to mention a couple of other events coming up. We did mention the next Bowery Electric show, which is 4 weeks from today with Dog Eat Dog, etc. Cropsy playing out in Staten Island. This is in all ages, bringing hardcore back to Staten Island. Come on out. Excited about this one. Saturday, August 12th at Generation Records. I will be moderating the How Much Art You Can Take book event with members of SSD Control. Their book is out now. This is going to be an exciting event. Come on down. It's right around the corner. Sunday, August 13th, back at the Bowery Electric. Sunday, all ages, free matinee with The Take, Silence Equals Death, Star Car featuring Sab Gway of Iron Cross, Ma'afa, and first show in 10 years, Mr. Pickle. Hey, friends down in South Carolina, my new film is out doing the film festival circuit. I will be down in South Carolina screening it at Summerfest on August 27th. Yes, I will be down there with the lovely Rochelle screening The Jews and the Blues, and I will be doing a Q&A at the Greenville Jewish Film Festival. Looking forward to seeing all our friends down in South Carolina for that one. This hasn't been announced yet. I don't know if I should even be talking about it. The Incendiary Device record release show at the Bowery Electric, Sunday, October 8th. In direct support, The Long Wait, featuring ex-members of SSD, Slapshot, and Wrecking Crew. It's RBNX's record release show, Chumhuffer, and Faded Line. I'm excited. I hope you are too. And then, of course, the Dingbat show on Saturday, September 30th with Spoiler, featuring Alan Robert from Life of Agony. Kings Never Die is off the bill. The Take, Ice Cold Killers, ID, and they're getting together an opening band. And, of course, 1 week from today, Chris Spencer from Unsane, Cutthroats 9, and Human Impact will be on the show. Please post your questions now for our guests. Let's bring on co-host Joel Ghostin. You guys okay over there in New Hampshire?
Yeah, we're doing all right. I was looking for something before the break ended. I couldn't find it.
Battery was dying,
Yeah, it's good
things
stuff.
to take care of.
Listen, I don't get excited about anything anymore. Batteries dying, pandemics. That said, let's bring our guest on. And boy, has this been a fun show. Hi, Jitan.
Oh, hi, Drew. Hi, Joel, Chris.
So let's see what we got here. Okay. Here's an interesting one. Have you ever played in Mexico?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I played in Guadalajara and Mexico City last year. And then the GD3, because Paul couldn't make it, we played in Tijuana. I think it was Tijuana. And then with Rick's Only Theater of Pain, which is a tribute to the Only Theater of Pain album, we played in Mexico. And then when I first got together with Rick in 2014, we went straight to Mexico City and had a big show there. So
Wow.
I played there, and I played there with Roz. We did Dream Home Heartache there.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, I've been, yes.
So, okay.
Yep. Sorry to miss you.
Gina B says, "Oh my God, I love you, Jitan. Love your humbleness."
Oh, thanks. I don't know what that is. It's just me. I'm just the way I am.
RS, our good friend and supporter. Do you paint? Do you paint at all?
Yes, I am a painter. I've sold paintings. I lived off it for a few years before. I create art. I have paintings. I show in galleries sometimes. It takes a lot of time to paint. I'm usually too busy doing music, so I don't pay much attention to it. But I think some of my stuff is available at Destroy Art, which is like a punk online gallery in San Francisco.
Yeah, and he asks, do you mess with Instagram? Now, you're not on Instagram, but you're on Facebook. Is that right?
I'm on Instagram. I accidentally opened an account, but I haven't had time to address it. Put it that way. I'm hardly on Facebook.
Right.
I'll check Messenger because I'm just really busy. I'm really busy creating stuff. It sounds maybe kind of inflated, but it's true. It takes a lot of time and a lot of mind space to write and
Tell me about it.
stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's a big part of what I do, and I didn't bargain. It's not something that I signed up for, but this show has an audience, and it's, and a big part of it is having to play the game of social media. And not that I'm great at it, but
you are.
It's an energy drain, but I do recognize that it's part of getting my art out there,
Well, thank you for that. I'm sure it's really a sacrifice in a way, as well as some, you bring it's like performing. It's like having a band or so. I don't know, but thank you.
Yeah. Well, I know the answer to this. Did Christian Death ever play in New York City? Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both versions. When they got back together for some shows, and also the second version, which I was in, played.
Yeah, I think this is really towards the very end of the second version here.
We did play an early show on our way out to that initial European tour in '84.
Yeah.
This is at the end, yeah.
Yeah. Darren asks, you spoke of recording an album in Wales. Do you remember where in Wales it was? I may know where it is, as I live in Wales.
Oh, yeah. Well, just look up I can't remember actually. It was beautiful. Absolutely. It was out in the countryside. Look up Rockfield Studios. Because I've had COVID 3 times. I'm going to use that for an excuse.
Three?
Well, two times, but it was like I had such a bad flu. It was the same as the other COVIDs, but I did have long COVID.
Oh.
So, and Rick did too. My memory has gotten eaten away.
Yeah.
But look up Rockfield Studios, and that's where we were in Wales, as well as the second version of Christian Death. Did some shows in Wales, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went through Wales.
First live show you ever went to?
The first one I
Do you
ever
remember?
went to. Well, I was hanging out with some older teenagers. And I started going to shows with them. You mean any kind of show or famous band show?
Like music. Like, what was the first live music?
Like some band playing in a high school. But my first shows I was really lucky. I got to see, no matter how pompous people think they are, there was Emerson, Lake and Palmer doing Brain Salad Surgery.
Yeah.
And Pink Floyd doing Dark Side of the Moon.
I would like to have seen that.
Yeah, I got to see them. Those were a couple of my first concerts, hanging out with some older teenagers that drove and drank.
Somebody brought up today in and around the first concert I ever went to. And
What was it?
Jackson Brown.
Wow. Well, there wasn't there. Look at the availability of what there was.
I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
It was 1978.
Isn't it a thrill to go to a concert?
It was.
Yep.
It really was.
Didn't matter what.
I was with all my camp friends. It was fun.
How
You
great.
know?
Yeah. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what it is. It's like you're looking up to this, famous person and playing music.
Yeah, music was heavy, back then. And you speaking of Pink Floyd and just the whole Roger Waters, The Wall, the sort of the whole how do I put that whole bit from The Wall with him, the music being like a Nuremberg rally, that whole bit was really heavy. And as a very young person, I think I could speak for myself, but I think a lot of people could relate to that stuff from Pink Floyd, The Wall, where that kind of stuff. And not to veer off here, but it wasn't until me being exposed to punk and hardcore that I realized that there might be more to it than just idol worship of someone up on a stage.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Activity.
So, yeah. Darren responds, Rockfield Studio is in Monmouth.
Yes.
Yeah. And he
beautiful.
Said, yeah.
Beautiful countryside.
Yeah. He says it's in about an hour from him.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, if you make music, that's the place to go if you can afford it. I don't know what it's costs now.
There's an interesting question from James Leone in here.
Yeah. I was confused by this. Let me read it. Greetings from the OC life. Much love to Jitan. Can you mention your experience with making Dropping Like Flies or the first Lots Lizard EP?
Oh, yeah. So James Leone is a young filmmaker, and he has made, he had Christelles perform live for that film Dropping Like Flies, which is a very interesting story about it changed, actually. The story kind of changed and amalgamated. It's about punk and, subversive underground life and living and club scene. And James, I can't believe what you did to the ending of that piece. It blew my mind. So you might want to see it. You might want to check it out. It's a low budget film, but it's I'm not going to give the story away too much. And the Lots Lizard EP is with Paul and Rick and James and I. He asked us to perform on that. It's a really cool EP. He does some cover songs and also some original songs. And Rick is playing guitar, Paul's playing keyboard and programming, and I'm doing backing vocals.
Fantastic.
He's a really great artist.
I want to ask about this Life After Death DVD that came out. That's a bit of like a biography. Were you happy with that? Did you feel like that was,
that was some years ago. So
okay.
That was that period up to my life at that time. But
sure,
you know how active life is.
Yeah.
If if you're moving along and interested in doing things, so
yeah,
it's not definitive in any kind of way.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Well, that's what happens a lot with. Yeah, how do I put it? With films.
Creations.
Yeah, thank you. With creations, even the films that I've directed, whether it's the New York Hardcore Chronicles film, it was finished in 2015, and people ask me about it, and I feel so much has happened since then.
Yeah.
I love it, but
I think that's I've been listening to this Great Women Artists podcast, and I love it when I hear, and these are some really just extremely prolific women artists, and I love it when I hear them say, and they're like in their 80s, I never look back. Because you know, it's like they're still moving forward.
Sure.
So I'm the same way. When I'm done with something, it's like, and I did the best I could then, but I want to do more. So, you know, it's like, you know, glad that's behind me. Now let's go forward, you know. I don't look back on I don't look back. I think I'm not, so much has happened since then, put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, exactly like what you said.
I agree with you 100%. And something can be said for sort of living in the moment. And even personally, one of the things I just so enjoy about doing the show is doing it live like this. It creates the environment and the space for somewhat, I mean, not to sound corny, but for the magic to happen, you know? And that's why, you know, I never wasn't part of the plan to do a show like this, but during the pandemic and it started and it's found an audience and it's done very well. And I'm just so happy that that's the way it worked out, you know? I'm really, really grateful for that. Yeah.
Yes.
Joel, as we head down the home stretch, anything, you know, anything we might have, you know, I don't want to say missed, but anything you want to add with your incredible perspective on all this?
Well, a personal perspective on this is it's just amazing that, like I said at the start of the show, Jitan, we met 20 years ago.
I know.
And, you know, that was kind of a crazy time for me, as you recall. You know, there were a lot of question marks. I basically packed up my car, had $4,000 in my pocket, and moved to Los Angeles.
I know you.
And I went out to, you know, to play in a band that became the Sixth Chamber with Sivan. And you know, I was living off $2 tacos at the Roach Coach out there on by the old Circus of Books there in Silver Lake.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And you know, there were times, you know, I'm thinking, wow, I'm 25. Did I make the right choice? You know, I left a fairly stable career and just tossed it up in the air and went out there. And it was you, Jitan, it was you, it was Sivan, it was Zara, who were like, hang in there. It's going to work out. You'll do it. You actually said you would chain yourself to my car if I ever wanted to leave. So without that encouragement, you know, my Los Angeles chapter would never have happened. So you would forever have my gratitude for that.
You've been a wonderful friend, and I thank you for that, for your time and friendship.
And it's always my love to Sivan and Zara as well. And
thank you.
My heart's always with those guys and with all of you.
I'll tell them.
Chris, did you enjoy being Joel's co-pilot today?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a radio background, so I'm not used to being on camera, but everything else I'm pretty comfortable with. And it's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure. Thank you for allowing it.
Thanks. Yeah, of course. I mean,
thank you, Chris. You're beautiful to look at. So
thank you so much. To me, and so
the other two guys. Go ahead. No, you're what?
Look at too.
There was one. Go ahead.
And you guys are just so cute. I just want to pinch your cheeks.
Where is? Hold on. I thought there was one photo. Oh, this is the one photo that I did not. Oh, it's kind of tiny. Shit. Let me try again. The one photo, which is a great shot. That didn't make it on is this one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a great shot.
Oh, thanks. That shot is used when they who is it, the Women of Punks or something, they pull out their top 10 goth chicks. They use that photo, and I'm honored because you know, like, you know, all I care about is working on stuff.
Yeah, that's nice. Well, that said, Jitan, thank you so much. It was really I really enjoyed it, and I've said this before, that shows like this bring me so much joy because, you know, I like coming into shows sometimes I don't know everything. So no. So for me, it's the joy of discovering and learning, and I have a belief that the audience, is a part of that as well, and that's part of the reason why
good.
the show is so beloved.
I'm truly honored to be on this show.
Yeah, it was great. Anybody you want to thank or shout out or anything?
I want to thank Rick and John and Paul and you and Joel and Chris and my kids Savan and Zara and my grandson Dason and Diera and any I have a few friends that I'm close to. Thank you. John Nikolai for making that promo for Despair. And if I missed anyone, that's because of I just missed you. But thank you anyway. And thanks so much, both of you, for having me. And
My
Chris
pleasure.
for being there.
We'll talk to you soon. And tell Rick he owes the show. He still needs to come. He needs to come back. He needs to come on the show.
Oh, he'll do it. Thank you. I'll tell him.
Please.
He's
All
listening.
Right. All right. Hey, Rick.
Bye.
We're coming for you. Take care, Jitan.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Stay well.
Wow, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was great, Drew. Thanks for hooking this up. This was great fun.
I really like when you come on, man. I do. I do. It's a nice break for me. I don't have to be on the screen all the time. I like sort of running the show a little bit and not having it's also you have, with these guests, when you co-host, you have such a deep appreciation and love for these artists. It's just great to have you along for it,
It was a lot of fun. Let me just add something real quick. In the first segment, it got a bit deep. Tom was talking about her relationship with Roz and how things went with that. Craig Satari years ago at a show said something on stage that really rings true to me. He said, people find hardcore for a reason. And I think people find goth for a reason and punk for a reason. Whatever subculture it is, we're a certain type of people. We need a lifeline.
Yeah.
And this was the lifeline that we found. And I'm looking at bands like Sick of It All Now, who are, starting to get a touch of gray. Life of Agony, they're still out there doing it. Like the scene has evolved to where it is today. And first of all, a lot of us didn't make it, but a lot of us are still here. And this is our time now. We've made it to this point, and that's something to be happy about and to celebrate together, that this is our scene. This is our lifeline. We built this for each other. So I think the message we sent out today in that conversation is important.
Yes.
Don't forget your New York hardcore community, whether it's in New York or Belgium, wherever it happens to be, we're here for one another, and that's never going to fucking go away. And it shows like this and the bands and, this kept all of us alive for this long. So let's keep it going and let's make sure that we see somebody who's having problems. We're the first ones to pick them up because we're all in this fucking pit together. Right. So
absolutely. And we've said it many times. And this, if there's anything that this show's about, it's community and culture,
right.
And I'll stand by that. And I'm proud of that, so, that's that. I'll see you guys soon. And Joel, we bantered a couple of people about. Let's do another one soon, man.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be in touch for sure.
Okay, take care, Chris. It's nice seeing you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You guys
take
care.
Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Another one in the books. John in London. Hey, thanks, man. Andy Tension, right on. Paulie, Darren, everybody, RS, nice show today. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in, James. Hey, Doob, you made it through the whole show. Is that right? My cousin Alan made it through the whole show. I'm impressed. Yes, more Joel. Awesome dude. Good interview. Yeah. Yep. Astoria Lou. There you go. Hey, we going to that barbecue on Tuesday, brah? In Astoria? What's going on? And I'm sorry you got to work tomorrow, man. It's kind of weird. Tomorrow is a work day. Is that what happens? You can actually work and listen to this at the same time. That's impressive. That's impressive, dude. If anybody out there knows my cousin, send him a message. Tell me he has to come on my show. Your family, goddammit. You know? Yeah, we're going, Lou. We're going. You really looking forward to next Sunday's show? Is that the Chris Spencer show? Right on. Right on. I'm looking forward to the Paul Rackman. I'm looking forward to everything, man. Hey, thank you, Gertie. I appreciate it. You know, I got to say this. Doing the show every Sunday is good. It's good. It's good. It's good for me because it's just enough time to sort of, you know, regenerate and get focused and have enough time for homework. You know, a lot of times, you know, we do Wednesday, you know, is that right? Cousin Dubin is excited about this guy's a character, you know, this guy Evo from Warfare. You know, I got a lot of homework to do on him. I peripherally know him. So I'm glad you're excited about it. Evo from Warfare, Angelic Upstarts, and The Blood. So yeah, there you go. And who's not excited about the Scorsese retrospective? Like, how are we even going to approach this? Should we do the gangster films first, or should we do the others? Yeah, I love, you know, I love Scorsese, and I feel like I could do a Scorsese show without even mentioning one of his gangster films. You know, a lot of great shit. Whew. The Aviator, what? Like, so much great stuff. I'm excited about that one. Absolutely. What else? Is everything's okay? It's the New York Hardcore Banana. That said, we could do an episode per movie. Jeez. Got to get my dad on to talk. My dad's a big Scorsese guy. He, like, you know, he knows those early Scorsese films, man. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to that. And yes, the second volume of the book is happening. It's moving forward. So don't be scared. Join Patreon. I know I'm preaching to the converted here, but the show needs your support. What can I say? Be an enabler. If there's anything worth enabling, it's this show, right? You could just ask the new patrons, Jean and Nerd Cage Live. So welcome to the party, and thank you very much. Okay, we'll see y'all. We'll see y'all in a week. Until then, do good things and good things will come to